When you take pictures with flash, your makeup is gonna look sensational.
You make me wanna throw my picture out the window. Tell MCI to cut the phone poles. Break my lease so I can move. Cause you a bugaboo, a bugaboo.
Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Glam with Van, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to get a flawless, flash-proof, mask-proof foundation base. I'm going to be giving you guys all my tips and tricks, so if you want to see how to achieve this look, then keep on watching. To start off, I like to prime and prep my skin. Just for skin background, I do have dry skin, so I've been enjoying the NYX Bear With Me jelly primer, and I just put a few patches, I want to say, of this on my skin. This primer, I just really like it because it makes my skin really smooth whilst moisturizing at the same time, and I've just noticed that it does extend the wear of my makeup, which is what we want. Next, for primer, I'm gonna go in with the Elf matte putty primer. Yeah, I just like to use that primer just in areas where I get a little bit oily, because like I said, I do have dry skin, but then obviously as your foundation wears, I do start to get a little bit oily around these areas. And then on top of that, what I like to do is just to set my face, and I'm using the Conceal and Define Infinite 16-hour wear setting spray. You want to go in and kind of lock in your primers with a long wearing setting spray. This is going to help your foundation last a lot longer on your face. For foundation, I'm going in with the Nars Soft Matte Complete Foundation in the shade New Caledonia. I have put it in kind of like a pattern because I am filming an Instagram reel at the same time. So if you're not following me on Instagram, what are you doing? Make sure you are. My handle is @glamwithvan. I'll put it somewhere on the screen. But what you want to do essentially is put a few drops of your favorite foundation and then take that same long wearing setting spray and spray it on your brush. So I go in about 3 times, and then I just start to pat this into the skin. I just pat the foundation into the skin, and as you can see, it applies flawlessly on top of our base. Essentially, you're just pushing the foundation into the skin, and I like to start towards the center of my face and I move outwards just because I feel like I want more coverage towards the center of my face and less around the outside. And then I take whatever is left and I just bring it down the center onto my forehead as well. Pat this in to the skin until it is flawlessly blended out. Then I'm gonna go in with a concealer, and the concealer I'm using today is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Chestnut. I just absolutely love this concealer. It photographs beautifully, absolutely beautifully. I feel like this concealer is more, I mean, it says super coverage. I feel like there's an actual difference between full coverage and super coverage, because I have some concealers that are full coverage and don't cover up anything like this. I just take this on all the areas where I want to conceal and brighten. I've been doing this lately where I bring my concealer up. I'm gonna go in and blend out with a brush, and I'm gonna spray my face. I'm just gonna let this concealer sit for a while, and what that's gonna do is it's gonna maximize the coverage of your concealer whilst helping it last as well. So we're just gonna let this sit, and then I'm gonna go in with a fluffy brush like this one, and I'm just going to blend out the concealer. So now that the concealer has sit on my face for a while, I just go in and I start to blend out the concealer with my brush. I just use small tapping motions, and it just disperses the product where I want it to go. So I just take the brush and I work on the edges, and I just do small quick sweeping motions, patting the concealer where I want most of the coverage to be, and then the sweeping motions to help me blend it out. And don't worry if you have harsh lines at this point. I'm going to show you how I work around that and get rid of that. So I'm going to do the same on my head. I want most of coverage to be around this area here. And then I'm just going to use the short and quick motions to essentially drag the concealer. That's what you're doing. You're just dragging the concealer. So as you notice, I like to go from bottom to top and then the middle, because this is where I want most of the coverage. So I want to leave my under eye to sit for as long as possible. And I start to bring that concealer onto my nose as well, and this is going to help with my nose contour. For my under eye, I like to drag the concealer first, just the edges of that concealer. So I'm just dragging the edges of the concealer, and I'm dragging this all the way up until my temple, because I really want a sharp edge here, because I just feel like this sharp edge photographs really nicely. So I drag the edges first, and then I pat where I want the concealer coverage, and then I'll bring that onto the sides of my nose. I just sweep across this edge here, because we want it to be somewhat of a harsh line, but we don't want it to be too harsh. So I just blend across, and then I continue with that patting motion under the eye, and that is how you get a flawless concealer blend under the eye. And that's why I prefer to use brushes, because I just feel like with brushes you get the most coverage, you have the most control, and I really do feel like it's beginner friendly, in my opinion. And in my opinion, whenever I do my makeup with just brushes alone, it comes out a lot nicer, it photographs a lot nicer, I don't get flashback, my blend, it just looks flawless. And then with my nose, I just literally take the brush on its side and I just blend it out, and then I do the same kind of dragging motion across the center of my nose. So we're gonna take our foundation brush and we're just gonna use this and press everything into the skin. And this still has the foundation mixed in with the setting spray, so this is really gonna help keep your makeup locked into your face whilst blending any harsh lines out at the same time. So I just like to go over any areas where I feel like the lines are just a little bit too harsh, and I go back and forth with my concealer brush and my foundation brush just to make sure I get that flawless blend. So next I like to go over top with a brightening concealer, and the concealer I'm using today is the e.l.f. 16 Hour Camo Concealer in the shade Tan Sand. Now this stage is optional. If you prefer an under eye that is really bright and that will photograph really nicely, then you would include this stage in your foundation routine. If you just want to have an everyday flawless makeup look and you're not really into the under eye, I would definitely skip this step. But for the purpose of the video, I'm gonna go in with this concealer, and I just take a tiny bit under my eye and I go in with the same concealer brush. And this is the key, you need to go in with the same brush, because this brush is gonna have all the product that's left over from the other concealer, so it will in essence tone this concealer down. And what you want to do is apply the same technique. So you want to diffuse the edges, and I like to drag mine up into my temple but not lower than my nostril, and then pat this under the eye, and that's where you want to keep the most coverage. And then you take the same foundation brush and you just blend over those edges, and I like to blend over the concealer as well. Some might think, what's the point in putting a brightening concealer and then going over it with your foundation brush? I just feel like it all helps in terms of your makeup photographing really nicely, because I do have the brightness but it's not looking too crazy. Next, I'm gonna go in and set my face, and to set my face I'm using the HMB Cosmetics Soft Focus Loose Powder, and this is in the shade Translucent, and I absolutely love this powder. It's so affordable, and to me, I just feel like this is a high-end powder. This powder makes my under eye look so flawless, and it sets my makeup. So I just take it on a powder brush and I just press that into the skin on all the places where I highlighted my face. What we're doing here is we're just setting the makeup, and then sometimes I like to do sweeping motions as well, just to make sure that it's really just blending into the skin as opposed to sitting on top. I feel like when you set your makeup with a brush, you just get more of a flawless airbrushed finish. So I'm just gonna apply a light layer around my mouth. So in certain areas I go a little bit heavier with the powder, and in other areas I use a lot less powder. So under my eyes I use a heavier amount, and then around my chin and places like my forehead I don't use that much. And you really want to make sure that you are pushing this into the skin, because that pushing motion is gonna help your makeup last all day. Then I like to go in with that same powder and I take a makeup sponge, a makeup wedge, and what I like to do is I like to bake. So I just take this down the sides of my nose, and baking over top of your set makeup is what's gonna make the makeup photograph amazingly. Like when you take pictures with flash, your makeup is gonna look sensational, absolutely sensational. And when you bake in the areas where you need the makeup to last longer, so around your mouth where you're wearing a mask, you will notice that your makeup won't disappear in these areas. So now that that powder is sitting on your face for a while, what you want to do is just push everything into the skin. So you don't want to sweep, you don't want to brush off, you want to push everything into the skin. And this is gonna help with how flawless your makeup is gonna look. So again, no sweeping, just pushing everything into the skin. So next, to set the rest of my face, I'm gonna go in with my Fenty Beauty Soft Matte Powder Foundation. This is in the shade 440. I finally managed to get a way to make this work. When I did review it, I expressed that I didn't like the color, but I feel like now on top of foundation, this just works a lot better for my skin. So I've actually fallen in love with the product. If you haven't seen my review, I will link it on the top of the screen. Definitely check that out if you're thinking about purchasing this foundation. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing this powder foundation into my skin using the same brush that I used for my liquid foundation, and I just feel like this just helps the products blend together, and this is just going to help blend out any harsh lines. And I'm also going over the top of my under eye with this as well. Powder on a fluffy brush, fluffy angled brush, and I just put this down the sides of my nose, and I find that this shade of powder is a really good nose contour for me. It's a little bit on the warm side, but I feel like I can make it work. So I'm really happy that I actually managed to get this powder to work. So for bronzer, I'm gonna go in with Chestnut, and this is by Beauty Bay, and I'm just gonna take this on an angled fluffy brush, and I just hit the temples and the sides of my cheek, nothing else. I try not to bring the bronzer too low. My brush has a little bit of blush on it already, so that's why the shade is coming out a bit more pink. I just blend everything out again with the foundation brush, and because it has the powder on it now, it just helps to blend out everything. So at this point, everything is kind of blended in, looking lovely. So you just want to give your face a final set with that setting spray. and I just like to push the setting spray into the makeup, and this is just gonna help marry all the products together. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna finish my lower lash line and smoke out my eyeliner, and then I'm gonna come back and show you guys the final look. So this is the final look. As you can see, my foundation is absolutely flawless, blended out really nicely. And now I'm gonna do a quick flash test for you guys. And as you can see, and there you have it, guys. Completely flash proof makeup. Nothing flashed back, as you can see. I'm going to insert the same picture, but as you can see, nothing flashed back. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned some new tips and tricks. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.